Thanks for joining, everyone. My name's Adam Kurtz, and we'll be talking about the connectors. Some people like to call them add-ins, but now we have these things that are available to us for when we use Excel or the Power BI tool from Microsoft. So how do we use that with Stratum? And how do we use these so-called connectors to connect to Stratum with these two interfaces, Excel and Power BI? So welcome, and that is today's topic. Like I said, we'll kind of start off a little bit with the Data Hub and how this fits into that concept. What is Power BI? If some of you don't know what Power BI is, we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then we'll talk about how to connect to Stratum using the Power BI desktop. Obviously, these connectors will leverage your Stratum environment and the views that you have within Viewer. And then we'll take a look, obviously, at the Excel connector, a demo, and some Q&A. So the Data Hub, as we know it today, as you can see, there's ways to get data into Stratum and ways to get data out. So on the right-hand side, as we can see, under the Stratum Access Hub, we can see how that fits into the story today. How do we get data out of Stratum using Excel and Power BI, which is part of the Stratum Access Hub, which also includes the ability to use REST API access, email distribution, and also the forecast tool as well. So we'll be focusing mainly today on the Excel and Power BI connector. Other ways to get data out of Stratum, certainly, what you do today with Viewer, the web interface, downloading and exporting data to Excel using the dashboards within the actual interface itself. Getting data in very quickly on the left-hand side, we won't be talking about this, but certainly we do have sessions on these topics, specifically importing data from an Excel spreadsheet, importing attributes, and creating virtual dimensions on the fly. Some really cool stuff there. Multiple level planning is available. So if you use Viewer today to not only read the data, but also to adjust or update data, that's available. Data copying data from history, making budgets and forecasts, increasing them, decreasing them on the fly. Those things are all available there on getting data into Stratum. And of course, we've got a full-blown tool to help you to get data into Stratum as well in the upper left-hand corner called Stratum Link. And so point of sale, ERP, CRM data can easily be accessed and imported into Stratum using Stratum Link. And that happens to be a web interface as well. So lots of stuff going on at Sylvan. But today, let's focus in on Excel and Power BI and how we use those tools to tap into Stratum. So what is Power BI? Well, it's a Microsoft tool. That's for sure. It's quite ubiquitous these days. I hate to use that word, but it's everywhere. And as you can see, it's got a pretty elaborate, I think I've got some people here. Sorry. Welcome. We're talking about Power BI access to Stratum, talking about using Excel also to access Stratum directly. We happen to be talking about what is Power BI, and it's basically a desktop tool that allows you to tap into data sets. You can tap into Excel spreadsheets, you can tap into databases, and now you can tap into your views that you have within Stratum as well, using our connector. Power BI desktop allows you to create some incredible visuals very quickly and easily. And then you can also upload to the cloud. There's obviously a free version of Power BI, but you can also go all in and get the enterprise version where you can upload to a cloud and start collaborating your reports to your user community within your enterprise. So basically, it's kind of a two-pronged approach, whether you want to use the free stuff or not. I have a full-blown license. I've used the free stuff before, and it's pretty incredible what you can do with just that. Also a good way to teach yourself how to use it. Wow, being a lot of people today. Welcome. Talking about Power BI access to Stratum. Okay, so we just talked about what Power BI is. Again, very powerful visualization tool, pretty easy to use. A little bit of a learning curve, but certainly you can start out pretty easily with it. Um, and certainly, as we said, free version versus a licensed version. The licensed version obviously gives you much more in terms of collaboration and whatnot. So again, I just kind of went over this, but it's can be cost effective. As you can see, it's if you're using a free version, obviously you can keep costs down. Um, Very simple to use, I think. Simple collaboration. Um, Nice to use when you need a custom dashboard report or something custom that you just can't quite get out of the interface of Stratum. So it just provides another avenue for you to get the visualization that you're looking for. Again, this is going to sit on top of the connector. So this is something that you would use. There is additional software that would need to be downloaded and installed from Sylvan to allow you to do this. But nevertheless, easy to do, very simple installation. I can then use my Power BI desktop then to tap into the connector, which then gives me access to the viewer views that I have within Stratum. The views then kind of behave more like a data set at this point, almost as if you're tapping into an Excel spreadsheet. Here you can see a snapshot of what that looks like within the interface. You can see that within the actual connector, I am able to select a view. I am able to visualize it before I bring it into my Power BI desktop. So you'll be able to obviously tap into your views, select a particular view. You can search for a view. So obviously, if you have thousands of views, you can search for the one you're looking for using the keywords. And yeah, just getting those data sets into Power BI is pretty simple to do. And I'll show you how easy it is in a second here. Here it is, another snapshot of us within the Power BI desktop. We've made our connections. We can see that we are actually tapped into a view there called PBI comparative sales. I'll show you how we do this. And as I expand that view or / data sets, we can see all the different columns, the measures. As you can see, you have all the sigma signs next to them showing the sign of a measurement or a sum. And then the levels, as you can see down below, sold to, the descriptions actually become another level or a field, if you will, and et cetera, et cetera. We've got other dimensions below that: product, brand, et cetera. Whatever you have within that view will be exposed within the desktop here. What happens if you change the view, if you add more stuff to it? Well, adding more stuff to it actually is not a problem. It will actually, if you add another column or another measure to your view, another level, and you save that, you're going to be fine. It'll append in without any problems. What you want to stay away from is changing any of the field names. So once you've named these measures, once you named these levels, or just left them as default, static is the way to go here. So if you want to keep these field names the same, as we all know, field names change. That could wreak havoc on anything at that point. So those are some ground rules. There are a bit more ground rules, but nothing too crazy. The view itself, it's beneficial if the view is more tabular in nature, those types of things. Totals or sums turned off helps. Again, just having these and we have a document that actually goes through that. So, okay, so that was Power BI. Very good. And I'll show you how we can tap into that and use that. But now we'll talk about Excel, and I kind of show you this as kind of a funny thing, but as companies try to get rid of Excel, they just simply can't. So we all know that Excel is just this thing that just keeps chugging along. We've lost Lotus 1, 2, 3. We've lost other tools that we've used in the past, but here Excel just keeps chugging right along, and it happens to be basically an analyst tool of choice. So we embrace it. It's not going anywhere, as Wall Street Journal says. Nevertheless, we can use Excel in the same manner that we can use the Power BI connector. This actually can be sourced through the app source, Microsoft's app source. You can actually download this directly from within Excel, this particular connector. So you do that, you then start connecting to Stratum, and then you start gaining access to the different views within your Stratum environment. Same concept here, right? You're going to have roughly the same interface for you to go through the steps to tap into Stratum, search for the view name, get the view that you're looking for, and inserting that into Excel. Again, the same ground rules kind of apply here. Tapping into views that are more tabular in nature. Static field names would behoove you. Definitely would benefit you. And yeah, so you want to just think about those things. Again, we have a document on that as well. So again, cost effective. We know that Excel, many of you are licensed for it. It obviously, yes, it works fine with Office 365. Excel has moved, it's evolved quite a bit actually. So the reporting visualizations have gotten better, easier. And yeah, so now you have this this connector that allows you to share a semantic layer with Power BI. It's funny, once you do this, that last point, is a pretty interesting point. Once you establish this foundation of Microsoft tools, there's a semantic layer actually that gets created that you can tap into. So interestingly enough, you can share fields across tools, and it's very interesting in terms of what you can do there. Here's a snapshot of what I'll show you in Excel. This is the visualization I was able to build with it. I know it's not, but it just shows you. I didn't know they had even these heat maps, which I think are really cool. Or these, these volume maps or whatever you want to call them. Upper left hand corner is strictly just a pivot table based on the view, what the view looks like. Here on the bottom, I can see a graph of the data within the view, essentially. So I'm just grabbing this stuff, putting it into a raw date, spreadsheet, and then building visuals on top of it. I'll show you how I did that actually. Wow, last slide. So basically, there's my contact information. So if you do not, basically, if you have any questions when we're done with the demo, you can always follow up with me about this. If you don't know if you're licensed for it, certainly, I can help you with that as well. Also below, you can see the other URLs to our other areas of social media, and there's our website. So again, don't hesitate to contact me. I'd be glad to help you determine how to use this and whether you're licensed for it. So without further delay, let's take a look at what I have as a demo here in live product. Here is the Power BI desktop. It's already open to my report that we built over a series of views. Actually, there's 3 views here on the right-hand side that I can see that I've already tapped into. So how do I get access, to these views? How did I do this? So basically, I can come up here and get data, just very similar to Excel and some of the get data options there for you. I can tap into an Excel workbook. I can go into Power BI data sets or SQL Server databases, analysis, all kinds of things, right? If down here, if I hit more, presuming that you've already installed the connector for the Stratum Power BI connector. So the more option actually gives you other options to incorporate other connectors. And here we can see that once you install the connector, you have an option called Sylvan Stratum Views. Here you can tap into that. That then authenticates and allows you to, well, first of all, you got to tell it the URL, right? So let me grab that. I'm going to open my URL. And I'll just use this one here. And you can just paste it right in. So tapping into that, it's now going to connect to the URL. And it's connecting, and it's connected. So here are all the views. If I search for mine, are all prefaced with a certain Power BI acronym, and it then quickly finds them. If I want to select one of these and bring them into my view, I just simply select it. It then gives you a preview of the data. This is all the data that I have within the view. So all the dimensions, as you can see, it's a very tabular looking view, which is what we recommend. We then click on load, and it loads in. We've already got it loaded. And there it is. So once it loads, then you have the ability to use that as a data set within the desktop. For instance, if I were to build another visual here, I can take this particular visual and shrink it down. And then maybe if I want to add in a pie chart, I can click on the pie and size it accordingly. And then I can go into the view. Maybe I want to do actual sales year to date by division, long description, maybe. That would at least tell us what division, which division is doing better in terms of actual sales year to date. Very simple, very simple. But cool, right? Because it's all, some of these are using the same data set. So if I highlight, for instance, one of the reps over here in the heat map, let's just take a look at what we're looking at here. We're looking at a view essentially that gives us all kinds of year to date views of and month to date rolling views of sales and sales amounts. So that's essentially, and then we have all these different levels down here on the bottom that we can aggregate by. Here over here, we're looking at a rolling 3-year sales amount. Obviously, from the visual, we can see Farm Fresh, First Choice being top brands here. So they're doing very well. The tool is very savvy if it's using the same data sets. For instance, if I highlight Farm Fresh, it then, as you can see, all the visuals then adjust. It then shows me basically the visuals adjust to Farm Fresh. The magic here is obviously using common data sets across the dashboard. So Farm Fresh year to date, 1.4 mil, rolling 3, 569K, and then current month is roughly around 150K. So that's Farm Fresh. If I just click back out here on the space, it then adjusts and shows me the entire enchilada, if you will. I can do the same thing down here for Patrick Hurley, one of my bigger reps. Obviously, he's got, and if you hover over it, you get some some nice tool tips. But the same game I could play here. Patrick, how's he doing? He's doing 1 mil year to date. Here's his rolling and current month numbers. Nicole, here's her number. She's not as voluminous as Patrick is, but she's doing well. And so on and so forth. Janice, the numbers get smaller as the tiles get smaller too. Don't worry, these aren't real people. Nevertheless, that's the magic of the Power BI, desktop. It makes this the ability, it gives you this ability to kind of, select these different areas and have the visuals adjust accordingly. Now, some other cool things here that you can tap into. We have this thing called a drill to view option. So if you, for instance, if I highlight Patrick Hurley, obviously, yeah, I can see all of his data here. Well, not all of it, right? I don't get all the detail. Perhaps I want more detail. Maybe I want invoice level detail. Maybe I want to see the ship tos. Well, I don't have that here in the Power BI visual. Do I want it here? Well, these things are good for, visualization, maybe at high to medium levels. But if you want detail and you want to drill to thousands of rows of records of data potentially, why not just take them back to viewer and then very easily, gracefully, filter on whatever they're clicked in on. For instance, for Patrick Hurley, if I want to select Patrick, I can then click on the drill to. In the tool, it shows this, but once you deploy this to the cloud, you won't see this prompt. It's just telling me, hey, I'm going to open this. You're going to navigate to this link that automatically gets constructed, by the way. You don't have to construct any of it. And you click OK to that, and it will then take you to viewer interface, the Stratum interface. I will then authenticate if I'm not already authenticated, and it will then run the view for Patrick Hurley. because that's who I was tapped in on, right? So up here in the view filter, I can hover over here, and sure enough, I'm looking at Patrick Hurley's numbers only, because it already automatically just plopped that in my view filter. Patrick's in the grocery division. He's, obviously here's his numbers year to date. Here's what he's doing last year. There's a big problem. Well, he's doing about 40. Wow, he's doing a lot better. This is demo data, by the way. So if I click in on the data again, it's just going to show me what Patrick's doing, because that's who I had selected in the report. And yeah, then at this point I can go wherever I want. I'm in Stratum. So if I want to see Patrick's sold tos, I can go to the sold to, I can go to his products. And I'm getting a lot more detailed on Patrick. I'm getting a lot more intelligence on Patrick. Very easy, right? If I were to close this out and select a different rep, for instance, Nicole, maybe I want to do the same thing here. I'll drill and see what Nicole's doing, from a Stratum perspective. Different story, right? She's down. It's telling me right away. View filter, yeah, Nicole Toscano. We're definitely looking at Nicole's business here. So yeah, she's got some areas of concern. Once you get to the detail, it gets interesting, doesn't it? So that's a very, very easy way to get to detail using the Power BI connector. And that's just a matter of just a couple of configuration items there, and you're ready to go. Cool stuff. What does the Excel connector look like? Let's take a look at the Excel connector. Well, again, same kind of concept here, right? You're going to open up Excel, and you're going to select a URL. You're going to connect to it, and then you're going to select a view. How do we do all that? Well, once you download and install the add-in, you'll get a menu item here called Stratum, in which then you can go and get Stratum data. I've already configured it to the URL. Now it's just showing me all the views. I can play the same game here. If I want to search for the PBI views, same concept here, right? I then select PBI comparative sales and insert the data. As you can see right here, and inserts the data as a raw spreadsheet-like format, which is exactly what I was looking for. Same ground rules apply here. You want to make sure that the view has static field headings, so that the connector doesn't get disrupted based on different headings, field headings. So again, and this will, you can select an option that will automatically refresh the data when you open the Excel spreadsheet. So you don't really, once you configure it the initial time and get everything, all the raw spreadsheets in that you need, it's pretty simple from there, actually. So that's kind of what I did. In this other sheet, based on the data, this hasn't broken since I created it quite a bit ago, and it just keeps refreshing, right? So here we can see what the data looks like in more of a summarization fashion using a pivot table. Over here, same concept here. I've got the heat map. It's not as graceful as Power BI. So if I select something here, it's not going to show me how it performs in the other areas. Only Power BI does that type of magic, unless I'm being sorely mistaken here. So, but nevertheless, it looks great. It's a good visualization tool. It's typically part of your suite of tools to use within your enterprise. And now you can tap into it pretty easily. I've got another really cool example here that one of our resources put together at Sylvan to make things really simple to get data into out of Stratum and then back in. It has an upload feature as well. So maybe you download data and you have a forecast that you downloaded from Stratum, and you make and you can come to this data to Stratum. And this is all formatted so that based on the raw spreadsheet that called data from Stratum. Here I can actually do some any particular manual overrides if I wanted to enter a number here and maybe manual override stuff. and then commit data back into Stratum. I can then upload data to Stratum at this point. It then selects the environment I got to authenticate to it. And then it'll just suck the data into the data import tool, and it'll allow me to get data and map data into Stratum. So it's actually doing that now. It's telling me to add data. I use a specific, I can add or replace data using data import, and I can use these different options based on what that file looks like, right? So if this data, obviously has some headers here, you got to know how many headers you have. So I've got obviously 5 headers, and looks like the actual dates are on the 3rd row there. So I have to know a little something about the view. How many headers do I have? Where are the dates found? What do they look like? That type of thing. Those types of questions need to be answered. But other than that, it uploads. As you can see, it already knows based on the metadata that these are dimensions. This one happens to be again, the metadata matches, so it knows which dimension to select. So my mapping is minimal. And then here on the right hand side, again, it automatically mapped based on the metadata, so it knows what measures to put and upload into Stratum. Hence also ignoring the different columns that I want to ignore. I'm ignoring the description columns because obviously I don't need to upload the descriptions. Those actually get uploaded every night from my master files. So it's actually ready to go. Wow, that was easy. And that's how easy you can make it using the Excel connector, getting data out of Stratum and making any adjustments and then uploading it back into Stratum. It's a snap, actually. It's pretty easy to do. And then don't forget, obviously, the powerful Power BI connector with its wonderful drill to feature. It's really, I think it's fun to play with, man. You can kind of get lost in it, and it's so easy to use. And it's, as you can see, it's got tons of visuals. It actually just updated, so that formatting is a lot easier now as well. The menus have been improved. Microsoft is constantly updating it to make it better and better. Does anyone have? I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. That's basically it on the class today. I'm going to open up for any questions or comments. Does anybody have any questions on today's topic?
Does the Stratum connector, is it a direct import, or can you do direct query or live connection?
Well, it's basically a live connection to your whatever view you're tapping into.
Okay.
So it's as live as that view is live, right?
Correct.
So as the data changes, like tomorrow, if the tool, once the tool refreshes, yes, that data gets updated automatically. Here's another thing about Power BI. Typically, if you've got it as an enterprise solution, normally you'll do that on the gateway. So there's a thing called a Power BI gateway that could be installed on really the same server, or you might have a dedicated server for it, but you could put it on the same server as Viewer and then our web interface. And then that's where actually the automatically refreshing would happen, so that the data gets refreshed automatically. So all the reports that you deploy to the Power BI cloud get refreshed automatically. So you don't have to do that manually. We've done that at several sites. So if you need any guidance with that, we're willing to help. But yeah, I mean, that's how you would want to do it, essentially. It's a good question.